Hey doll fam, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Issues in Influencing, the show where I share the unfiltered truth and some of the negatives and cons that come from the influencer community. We all know that an influencer is taking over most platforms across everything that we see and follow, but so are some of the not so nice practices that the job entails. Now, being an influencer may seem very filtered and airbrushed, but some of the choices that are made in the community and in the job title can be very raw and not so pretty. So if you guys want to hear about a current situation that really does affect people in a serious way, make sure you keep watching because I am about to spill the tea on why it's not just mascara. So if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I myself used to be an influencer. Now, I will say with full discretion right now, I was definitely never one of the top influencers, but I definitely spent a lot of time in what it is to be an influencer, whether it be for clothing, hair products, makeup products. As a pinup model, it opened up a lot of doors for me for new titles, jobs, opportunities, and one of those things early on was influencing. As the influencer market took off and started growing, more brands and companies realized that influencers are probably one of the most lucrative and monetizable forms of marketing out there. So as I started working with more companies, I was privy to more information, more ways of doing business, and a very in-depth behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to be an influencer and make sure that you keep getting those brand deals. One of those things is being dishonest. And right now, if you are anybody in anything beauty related or you watch anything beauty related, you'll see a huge fuss going on every news feed you scroll into, even if you don't follow anything beauty related, about something in regards to mascara. Mascara, mascara, mascara. And it's actually starting to piss a lot of people off having to hear so much about it. So when I saw what the issue was, I really wasn't that shocked, as it's something that has been done in the industry far before influencers took over. So the fact that this is a problem that just arose and people are just now calling it out is really not as new and fresh as everybody's trying to make it out to be, nor is the person who's bringing it into the news feeds right now the only person that's ever behaved or acted this way. But with that being said, I would like to state that this isn't going to be a video calling out anybody individually or trying to bully or attack anybody individually, but more so talking about a behavior that's becoming far too common in the influencer community in general. It's also one of the reasons why I personally chose that it wasn't necessarily the right road for me. Is it the only road that you can travel down? Absolutely not. But if you want to be anybody in the industry and keep getting all the likes and lifted up on platforms, sometimes you have to be willing to do the things that are well, they're just not as sparkly as the highlighter that you put on your face. And your girl was definitely not one to take that dull road, if you know what I'm saying. But also, it can come with tons and tons of pressures to make you feel like if you don't do a good job or make these brands happy, then you might not get to continue in the job that is your passion and any of the reasons why you started to do it to begin with. So I'm going to be talking about an issue today that I feel is probably one of the biggest issues in the influencer community, and why I feel like it's important to talk about more so than kind of the simple problematic issue that's being brought to light, because there's a way deeper issue and a way bigger problem than just the mascara we're painting on our eyelashes. So one of the things I learned early on in being an influencer was how dishonest brands and other influencers were willing to be to make sure that their products got the marketing or reviews that they were after to help increase the sales that they were ultimately gaining from said content. I think one of the biggest issues in influencing and being a beauty influencer in particular is that there's this kind of gray area that people totally disregard, and that's the fact that it's a job, and that influencers are brought on and involved with companies and brands as a form of marketing to create content to sell products. It's for monetary value, right? It's to gain momentum in getting products out in front of a large majority of clients and making them want that product through content that makes it look so amazing and fun. Well, the problem with that is that those products that these influencers are testing and making content about aren't always going to be amazing. They're not always going to live up to the expectation, which means as an influencer, you can either tell the truth about that product that unfortunately isn't so great, or you can lie about it to appease your client that's hired you to create this content, talking about how amazing and how much you love the product. I, for one, have been in the hot seat of testing a product that turns out to be everything not that it claimed, and it got me in a lot of trouble with the brand that I was working with. I spoke about it in my last Issues in Influencing episode, and I worked with a brand that made a lot of really big promises with its product, and I devoted an entire month of hard work to trying to make this product do what they claimed that it would, and ultimately it let me down at every turn when I let this brand know that unfortunately I didn't have the best outcome, and I wasn't really going to be able to post this glowing, amazing, wonderful, positive review. I gave them the opportunity to either keep my honest opinion to myself, or I could make an honest review. And they decided to take a PayPal claim out against me to try and not pay me for the work put in, because they wanted me to post a pre-written review that they typed themselves, making claims that were 100% opposite of how I felt as the product tester. That goes against all of my moral fiber. But unfortunately, not everybody's moral fibers are as strong as mine. Not that I'm the best or higher or better than anybody else, but when it comes to this job in particularly, I'm an honesty is the best policy type of girl. And to post something that was a not only some claiming that I said it and were my thoughts and opinions when they were 100% not, but then put it out there to all of my followers who trust what I say, who follow me for honesty, as if they could trust that review coming out of my mouth that never came out of my mouth to begin with. And the problem is that a lot of influencers are 100% okay with a quick copy and paste review, claiming that they love a product and it does all the things that they say that it will do, when in turn, it definitely does not. There is an influencer right now who is in extremely hot water over a mascara. I personally am not going to call this influencer out because I feel like it's not relevant, because I'm talking about an overall behavior that a lot of influencers and a lot of brands bring to the table and serve you hot and fresh as if it's not full of absolute shit. And to call out one, I feel would be extremely unfair, especially because she has more than reaped the negative benefits of what her actions have caused, if in fact she did what she is being claimed to have done. Now, the problem with this is that a lot of people are upset that people are talking about this issue. It's just mascara. What's the big deal? Well, you're right. It was just mascara, and it wouldn't have been a big deal if it wasn't painted on thick with lies. If what happened is actually what happened, what people are saying happened, then it was 100% brought to people in a falsely packaged way. Falsely packaged. I didn't even intentionally do that, but I did. This issue became more than mascara when a lie took over the entire product review. And when you lie about things, unfortunately, in today's society, when you put it all over the internet, there's going to be somebody who's going to catch it and it's going to call you out. And once they call you out, it's going to be this negative snowball effect. Now, I can only assume that this influencer was paid by this brand to create content using this product and talk about how amazing it is. And she could have very much just done that. But wanting to do a good job and really show off this product and make this ginormous brand in the beauty industry happy about her work and what she did for them, she made a not so great choice. And that was to add an additional product to make this product maybe seem better than it actually was, without disclosing that factor and presenting it as if she was only using the product and getting those results from said product alone. You can't do that. You definitely cannot do that, especially with, people aren't stupid. They're not dumb. They're going to catch on. And in today's world on social media, people are bold enough to call you out when you try to mislead them. And I think one of the biggest issues here as to why this has blown up to such a degree is because people are really getting tired of being lied to and misled when it comes to this type of platform. Influencers, in my opinion, they get a kind of a bum rap in general. I think that there's a lot of amazing influencers out there who work really hard to put out great, honest content for the people that follow them. They respect their followers, they respect themselves, they respect the brands that they work with, they have morals and they hold themselves accountable. But then there's ones that don't, that are pitching a copy and pasted fake review with a code, trying to pitch you the next skinny tea, belly button worm, weird crap that we all know is a scam, but it plays on the issues that we all have with our self-esteem and our confidence and our, how we view our bodies or how we don't view our bodies or how we feel like we are lacking or we're not good enough. Or, so many people in today's society struggle with feeling like they're enough because they're comparing themselves to things that they see being pitched to them by influencers specifically. And that includes celebrity influencers who I feel like almost have an even higher moral regard that they should be keeping up with, but seem to be doing it even more and even worse. I'm not going to name names, but there's an entire group of sisters that are making billions of dollars off selling super cheap items at crazy inflamed rates while they're pitching it all with completely over photoshopped photos. And they just start to brainwash people. When you feed on this type of content on a consistent basis, there's a lot of minds that it really does take over. And people start making choices and, feeling ways about themselves that are completely manipulated by this false content that's presented to them. And it's a huge problem. And it would be really ignorant and naive of us to say that it isn't, because there's some of us who can look at this and say, that's filtered, that's photoshopped, that's crap, that's bullshit, I don't need to pay for that, this is not real. There's a lot of us who are secure and strong-minded and can see right through all those filters. But then there's a lot of people who are not quite there yet, and they get misled a lot by people who their job is to market products to make them look so amazing and so life-changing that if you don't purchase them, then you're really missing out, right? You'll be this much more beautiful, you'll be this much more liked, you'll be this much more popular, you'll be this much more skinny or not skinny, or your hair will be this much better, or your lip shape will be 10 times nicer. Or there's so many things that I feel like are crammed down our throats that we're told that we need to be enough. That's just straight up bullshit consumerism, that when somebody takes a product and lies about it, it becomes more than just mascara. And that's one of the biggest issues that I had as being an influencer, was the dishonesty in the reviews and the outcome of what the product can do to ensure sales, to ensure brand deals, to ensure likes and views. And I don't think that that's fair. I think that it's obviously always been an issue in marketing that brands will edit and Photoshop and make all these big promises that are illusions. And every single one of us can probably share a story where we were pitched a product and believed that it was something that when it showed up, it totally wished us, right? We thought we were buying this beautiful gown, and then it shows up the size of a Barbie and it's made out of a paper sack. But unfortunately, I think that these things need to be talked about and need to be, lifted up, because I think we've all been functioning for a good long time now in a filtered illusion based off of the bullshit that we feed on through social media and platforms that are completely dominated by influencers. Now, again, I don't think that influencers are 100% to blame here and they're all trash, and I don't think brands are just all evil trash. I think that there's choices that are being made that, because they get rewarded, people continue to do them. I talk to so many young women who come to me because they want to do what I've done. They want to be influencers. They want to be brand ambassadors. They want to be able to get all the PR boxes and do all the reviews. And it looks so glamorous when you scroll through Instagram feeds of influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers and YouTubers who have millions of views, and they're working with all these big brands and everything's so beautiful, and you're drawn to it, and it really could be an amazing, wonderful thing. But it also has a side to it that can be not only damaging to you yourself as an individual if you make the poor choices that some people do, but you can also really damage and hurt your followers and the people who watch you and trust your word and trust your content. So I think that the problem here is that everybody thinks it's just mascara, let it go, it's not that big a deal. You're right. It shouldn't be that big a deal. It should just be mascara. But when the primer was a lie being pitched to people who trusted somebody in what they were saying to them, that's when it became much more than mascara. When I was a little girl, I would have never dreamed that I would get to do some of the jobs that I did, and I never thought that I would be working with beauty brands like I did. I remember the first time I walked into an Ulta Beauty and discovered Urban Decay Cosmetics. So when they started sending me PR boxes, it was such a surreal dream come true. And it's really exciting. And I can only imagine how it feels to be an influencer or a beauty creator that has 10 times more brands coming after them. It's a lot to have on your shoulders. And you can really get wrapped up in a lot of things. But I think that it's really important that one of the things that you never lose sight of is not filtering the truth. It's bad enough that we sometimes filter our photos to a point where you can't even tell we have a bridge on our nose anymore, right? That's a problem all on its own. But one thing that should never be filtered is the truth, especially if you have put yourself in a platform type of situation where people are following you to hear the truth about the products that you're presenting them with. One of the things that I think we always need to keep in mind is that people follow influencers and content creators because they love who they are as people. They love the energy, the vibe, what they say in between the makeup application. But we also need to remember, as viewers, as the followers of these people, that this is their job. And this has become a job that brings in millions and millions and millions of dollars to brands, to giant corporations, to investors, to channels and platforms like YouTube. Do you know how much money YouTube alone makes off beauty content creators? So when there's that much money at play, dishonesty can start to weasel its way in. And we expect it from like the big brands, and we expect it from the big corporations, but we also need to realize that it can come to us from the creators themselves, from the influencers themselves. There's a lot of pressure on these people's shoulders to continue the growth of their channels, to continue the deals, to continue the likes and the views, and keep bringing in those checks. And the more you gain, the more pressure you get to keep it, because it's also one of the jobs that as quickly as you've grown your platform with one simple unfiltered lie, you can ruin it all. And I think that it just goes to show that making sure that you're always unfiltered in the reality and truth of the products that you're representing and the things that you're telling your followers, whether it be about beauty products or not, you should never lie or be dishonest to the people who spend the time watching your content. Because without them, there wouldn't be much monetary gain from a company teaming up with you. Because ultimately that's what they're after, is those followers, those views. You're marketing their product to help increase sales. The moment you start lying to your followers and the people who are there to watch you and to trust you because they like who you are, and that's why they trust your word and buy these products, the moment you really do start losing all of the shimmer and shine that you worked so hard to create. So remember, honesty is always the best policy, no matter what. In closing, what I would like to say is that I don't want it to be misinterpreted or gone without saying that influencers are just people, and being an influencer is a job. And it's going to have a lot of different people who do that job with different minds, mentalities, beliefs, priorities, morals. Everybody is different in that job field, just like everybody is different in any job field. There's going to be dishonest people, there's going to be honest people, there's going to be people who make bad choices and get fired, there's going to be people who make great choices and get promoted, there's going to be people who make really shady choices and get promoted even faster. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if HR catches on to you, you're gonna get in trouble and you're gonna get called out. But these are still human beings. And one of the things that I've seen that's probably been even worse about the situation that I'm using as a tool to kind of direct this conversation is that this person who, made this choice and made this mistake is being treated in ways less than human, and I really, really disagree with that. I think that another issue that happens a lot across social platforms and comment feeds, and where everybody's giving their personal opinion on the situation, is that people forget that even though content creators might have millions of followers and might be making money or working with big brand deals, they're still human beings, and this is just their job choice. So you need to be respectful above all else to the fact that this is a human being, and if it's not helpful or constructive criticism or honest opinions, you definitely should keep it to yourself. No matter what someone's personal choice may be, especially if it's not necessarily the best one, remember that your choices are also your own. So just because somebody makes a poor choice does not make them an open target for you to start slandering in disgusting personal ways. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how this influencer is now facing a lot of backlash in ways completely outside the wheelhouse of what the actual situation is. And that is simply being dishonest in a beauty product review. But to be making jabs at who this person is as a human being, calling her names, making disgusting derogatory statements about what she looks like, or any personal attack that they can think of because they feel all of a sudden because she might have lied, they're allowed to now treat her less than they would feel that they should be treated themselves. There is never an excuse for that type of behavior, in my opinion, either. I think that if you feel like this person has been dishonest in this specific area, you can say, hey, you shouldn't be pitching products dishonestly to people to make a quick buck. But to go after their looks, their body, who they are as individuals as a whole, kind of just shows that you might not be the most sparkly highlighted person either. Sometimes the only filters that we do need is to filter our unkindness towards other human beings in situations that we feel warrant a little bit more brash response. Filter your words. If you can't be kind, you don't need to be wasting your time. So that's going to be it for this episode of Issues in Influencing. I think that it's really important to bring to light some of the really dangerous negatives that come from the influencer communities, including, if not the most, the beauty influencer communities. There's a lot of really destructive ways of thinking that come from people who spend time watching these creators and taking absolutely everything these creators say to heart, that can be really destructive in personal everyday lives, especially when it comes to how people view themselves, their own beauty, their own self-confidence. They're trying to compare themselves to filtered images. They're trying to compare themselves to dishonest representations of beauty to begin with. So if you're lying about what a mascara can do to provide to somebody who is seeking that type of validation through their aesthetic as far as their beauty goes, it can be damaging to people. I know that when I was a teenager, one of the worst things I went through as far as my own personal beauty visual aesthetic went was that I had terrible dark circles. And I came from an environment that was extremely sheltered, and I was really naive and unaware of Photoshop. And I fed on beauty magazines that showed skin and texture and tone and everything so airbrushed to perfection that I was trying to meet a standard that isn't humanly possible because it isn't real. It's a filtered photograph that goes through a software and a system that makes it look that way because it doesn't want to be distracting to the buyer, because it's trying to make money off of the product it's selling. And if it can make you think that if you use this product you'll be this perfect, it rakes in a lot more dough. But ultimately it had me standing in my bathroom mirror at 16 years old trying to use a concealer stick underneath my eyes to make myself look as even and complexioned clear as the photos I was looking at. But I couldn't reach that level of perfection that I was seeing in the magazines, and kept taking it off to start over until the underneath of my eyes were so raw. And realistically, you would say you were 16 years old, you should have known better. Well, yeah. I mean, I had been struggling with dark circles and being super pale my whole life, and I was trying to just feel comfortable and confident in something that made me extremely self-conscious. And once that bug was planted in my head, I just lost grasp of reality. And it took me a long time to get back to that. And once I realized what was going on and started modeling myself and taking photos myself and being a photographer myself and really realizing the reality of how damaging some of this stuff can be to people in this everyday life, it's hard not to talk about the unfiltered truth with people who I know are out there feeding on this content and hurting because of it. So in the end, I just want to say that as influencers and content creators, it's our job to be truthful with the people who are sharing their time with us, who are the reason why our channels grow to begin with, who are the reason why brands want to work with us or pay us to review their products to begin with. And as viewers, I stress to you to not put so much stock in the filtered images and videos and reviews that are pushed out daily to try and make sure that they keep those brand deals coming in. Because a lot of it is dishonest and a lot of it is extremely filtered to make sure that that monetary gain, that marketing technique is doing what it's been paid to do. And sometimes that's just to straight up use you. So I'm Emily Dahl. I'm sure that I've probably upset somebody. If so, I mean, listen, knowledge is power and sharing is caring, and I'm going to share the honest truth with all of the people who follow me. If you don't like it, that's okay. There's a lot of filtered content you can watch and pretend that, everything is just how it is, right? But not here. So remember, make peace within yourself so you can walk in love with others just as much in this field as in anywhere else. But I'm Emily Dahl, your unfiltered ex-influencer, and this has been another issue of Issues in Influencing. Remember, it most certainly is only mascara, unless it's primed with a lie, and then it's, unfortunately, a lot more. I'll see you next time. Toodles.
Words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Very cool.
Good to see